I absolutely hate sometimes that God has called me to pastoral ministry. I hate it. I hate it more than anything I hate about my entire existence, because so much of my personality and heart and passions and everything else lie outside of the church. And yet I feel this distinct push to bring it into the church, but to bring it into the church requires uh, just absolute torture sometimes. Like, you're going to put yourself out there in front of people, you're just going to get killed for it. And you're going to try and push people to move in that direction, because you feel like this is where God's trying to take you, and here's how these things work together. Um, and they're ungrateful for it. So it's like they don't want to listen. They don't want to give you authority or influence. They don't want to give you opportunity. And then they're ungrateful for the good things you do. It's like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life, be a pastor.
I am, dude, that you just said that is going to give people who are listening this moment to go, holy crap, I thought that was just me. Right.
No,
Yeah, but think about it this way. And this is where I think you have to delineate. I really think it's important in this conversation to say, okay, so my wife's a seventh grade school teacher. There are days that she loves teaching prepubescent seventh grade kids. In other days, she comes home and she's like, pour me a glass of wine and leave me alone. And
gotta defrag.
after 35 years, there's still a balance in that. And for the most part, she still teaches because she loves middle level education. But when she comes home, I mean, she used to snap at me. Like, I said, don't snap at me and tell me to sit down or be quiet or whatever. But I mean, sometimes I act like a seventh grader most of the time.
Well, that's true.
That's true. We know that's true.
That's
You know
true.
me. But when she gets up in the morning, she's not a school teacher. She's my wife. She's a mother. She's my friend. She's my lover. She walks out that door. She gets in her car. She drives 30 miles. And when she walks into school, she is Mrs. Eldred. And when she leaves that school at 3:30, she's no longer Mrs. Eldred. And I think pastors have a really difficult time with the idea that I'm pastor 24/7. I'm always pastor.
Right.
Now, there's aspects of my life that are always Tim the pastor. Like, I've never answered to the phrase Pastor Tim in my life. When people in my church go, "This is Pastor Tim," I'm like, I'm Tim. I happen to be the lead pastor of this church, but just let's stick with Tim. When I walk into that building or I walk into an environment, I do put on my pastor hat. And when I walk out, I take it off because I'm working really hard. And this is really not a challenge for me, as I know it's for a lot of people, that my identity does not come from that. And there are times I change my tone and I change my meter, right? And the thing that becomes a challenge is if I can't do that with the level of like this whole project's about and feel like I'm being authentic. If I ever get to the point
Right.
where I feel like, okay, I can't do this anymore because this is not me, I feel like a fraud, then it's probably time for me to relinquish the role and find something different to do. And a couple of years ago, I was ready to do that. You know that. I was walking
Yeah. I mean,
out
you're
of
ready to just
ministry.
hang it up,
I
be
was
done.
hanging it up until, you know, um, until I hired some new staff at church. I've got an amazing team. I've got the best team I've ever had in 30 plus years of pastoral ministry, where I, for the first time, really feel like it's a joy. My job's a joy because and I know a lot of people don't have this privilege, but I get to do only what I'm really good at doing. I get to lead and I get to teach.